Hello there. The other day, somebody challenged me to find national party policies I actually agree with, and I thought, you know what, that's fair. So I put on my research hat and I did some digging. I went through some media archives where I was reminded about Chris Luxon's trip across the road in a limo to tell people on the steps of Parliament he was in it for the working classes, comments around good Māori, bottom feeders, South Auckland garage dwellers, and wet, whiny, inward looking New Zealanders. How he considers abortion to be murder, but he's okay letting that murder slide. How he was working hard in Te Puke, but he was actually on holiday in Hawaii. How he didn't know about a whole bunch of pasts from various candidates around the country, including one who ended up becoming an MP, who it turned out had abused kids in high school with bed legs. But that's all right, we're never going to see that report because it'll never be released. I read about MPs like Barbara Kuriger using her position to try and get her husband and son off really serious animal abuse charges with MPI, or Tim van der Molen having to apologise and no other real punishment for standing over and threatening a fellow MP in the select committee process, or David Bennett's comments around bringing a bullet to the Commerce Commission, or Simon O'Connor's really prolific comments around things like the ending of Roe versus Wade, which he celebrated, his vengeance is mine comment around abortion law reform, his voting on conversion therapy practices, which made him say transphobic comments apparently, and linking a mass shooting in the United States to comments made by Green Party co-leader Marama Davidson. There was Michael Woodhouse's really weird thing with the toilet seat in Claire Curran. There was the really strange reaction to Te Reo road signs, which the National Party actually initiated initially, and dog whistles around things like co-governance and one person, one vote. I had a look at things like their policy statements on tax, which just don't add up. Millions of dollars in tax cuts for the rich, losing subsidies on things like early childhood education, prescription medicines and public transport, and maybe $10 if you're lucky if you're a low-income earner, which apparently you can spend on rice and beans and a couple of protein bars. Apparently. But that's fine because you can spend your money on these things, according to Chris Luxon, but you shouldn't, according to his deputy Nicola Willis, because this is inflationary and very bad for the economy. And when that happens, downward pressure, which is this magical thing that's totally not trickle down economics, isn't going to happen. Those people who are making millions of dollars a day off the cost of living crisis are just for some reason not going to want to lower the price of all the things that we have to deal with. They also want to change benefit systems so that you suddenly are indexed in a different way. I mean, a loss of about $33 a week for people on benefits and the pension, and they want to put in punitive charges and punishment for people who are on benefits for far too long, according to them. They want to make sure that people feel safer, which I totally get. And to do that, they want to ban gang patches so you don't know who's in a gang out in public. They want to do exactly what Labor has said they're going to do, word for word, when it comes to getting to more police. They want to lock up kids in boot camps and put ankle bracelets on them, which researchers show and time and again just does not work. They want to let young people be able to access their KiwiSaver to pay for bonds, which economists have said is really, really irresponsible. They want to bring back things like no-cause tenancy evictions, which, that doesn't seem like a good thing to do. And they want to change the Bright Line test, bringing it down to 2 years, which makes it easier for property flippers and house bankers to make money from doing absolutely nothing. They want to roll back a whole bunch of climate change policy with vague "we'll do it better" promises. They want to remove the Auckland fuel tax, which would end up costing Auckland ratepayers an extra $20 million a year in operating costs because the money to run these things have to come from somewhere. They want to ban cell phones in schools, which is something schools can already do if they actually want to. There was a whole bunch of dog whistles around RSE in schools. There was kicking people out of emergency housing with no plans as where to go or what to do with them afterwards. There was lifting a ban on GE and GN technologies to magically produce something called a low emission cow and crops, which contravened some of our international trade deals. There was also rolling back of environmental work with farming, which could contravene free trade deals with the UK and Europe. There was also things like removing fair pay agreements, repealing the work done on Three Waters, RMA reform, the Māori Health Authority, the Clean Car Discount, the Plain Language Act, and the Insurance Income Scheme. But I did find 3 policies I actually agree with. E-bike charges on the New Zealand cycle trail, think that's a great idea. 6-month temporary visas for nurses and midwives coming over here to search for work, brilliant. And extending breast cancer screenings for those up to 74 years old from the current 69. Totally agree with that. But it took me a while to get there.